world is changing faster than at any point in recent history. Distances feel shorter, movement feels easier. Travel today is less about how far you go and more about what you experience. In East Asia, one country continues to draw people back again and again. Japan, a place where the future moves fast and the past never disappears. You feel it the moment you arrive. Neon lights glow above quiet streets. Ancient temples sit just minutes from glass towers and crowded stations. You experience Japan through movement. Trains glide through cities with precision. Streets stay busy, yet rarely feel overwhelming. And you experience it through food. In a small shop, a simple meal is prepared with care. Not for display, but because attention matters. From quick meals between journeys to seasonal dishes enjoyed slowly, food becomes one of the easiest ways to understand this place. This is a country where modern life and tradition exist side by side, where innovation reshapes daily routines while rituals quietly continue. Japan is not just a country, it is many experiences layered together. Old and new, fast and patient, simple and detailed. Before we begin, let me ask you something. Have you been to Japan? If you have, where did you go? And what made you want to return? If you haven't, what kind of Japan are you hoping to experience? This is not only a journey through destinations. It is also a journey through a country in motion, inviting you to step inside. And it begins now. Japan's geography explains much of how this country moves and how you experience it the moment you arrive. Japan stretches more than 3,000 kilometers from north to south, forming a slender chain of islands surrounded entirely by ocean. As you move along this long line, you begin to feel how climate, landscape, and daily rhythm quietly shift around you. In the north, winters are long, and you see snow resting on mountains for months at a time. That snow shapes how people build homes, travel, and learn how to wait. In the far south, warm seas and subtropical islands surround you, creating a softer, slower rhythm of life. Nearly 70% of Japan is mountainous, something you notice almost everywhere you go. Flat land is scarce, and as you move through cities and towns, you quickly feel how limited space really is. So how do you build a life when space is never abundant? Perhaps it is from these limits that Japan's way of living begins to take shape. For centuries, communities formed carefully where land meets sea, along rivers and narrow plains. As you stand in these spaces, you can still feel how closely life follows geography. Surrounded by water, Japan learned early how to look outward. As you trace the coastline, you realize people, trade, and culture arrived with the waves long before borders existed. But the ocean did not only bring connection, geography here also brought constant uncertainty. Earthquakes, typhoons, tsunamis, and shifting seasons are realities you can't ignore. When nothing feels fully predictable, what do you hold on to stay grounded? Perhaps it is a deep respect for limits and impermanence. You see it in how space is shared rather than claimed. You notice it in how resources are used thoughtfully instead of excessively. Daily routines quietly create structure, keeping life from unraveling. Watching everyday life here, you begin to realize movement is rarely random. Paths are repeated, refined, and followed without needing to be spoken. Could this be why everything seems to flow, even in limited space? Modern Japan did not emerge by erasing what came before it. As you move through the country, technology expands while familiar habits remain. So what allows Japan to feel modern without losing itself? Perhaps it is this balance, repeated quietly every day in the smallest details. This is the Japan you are about to move through. Tokyo is often imagined as a city of speed, neon lights, and endless crowds, and the moment you arrive, that image surrounds you immediately. Not as an exaggeration, but as lived reality. With over 13 million people in the city proper and more than 37 million across the greater metropolitan area, Tokyo is the largest urban region on Earth. From airport corridors to station platforms, everything around you is already moving. Fast, precise, and confident. Trains arrive within seconds of schedule, platforms fill in waves, then empty just as quickly. Tokyo's public transport system moves more than 40 million passengers every single day. Before you have time to observe, you've already merged into the familiar flow of movement. It's crowded, dense, and intense. But what surprises you most isn't the scale. It's how smoothly everything works. Step onto the street, and Tokyo meets you at eye level, loud, bright, and alive in every direction. In Shibuya, one of the busiest districts in the world, up to 3,000 people cross the intersection at once during peak hours. You stand shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of others, waiting quietly for the same signal. Phones come out, cameras lift, some check directions, others just watch the crowd thicken. When the light changes, you move forward together, crossing from every angle, brushing shoulders, then emerging on the other side. Seconds later, the crossing clears, traffic returns, and the city resets itself. Watching this repeat, you begin to feel how Tokyo teaches its rhythm simply by letting you move through it. A short train ride later, the city shows you another face. In Asakusa, Tokyo's past feels closer, woven directly into streets where daily life never stopped. Sensoji, Tokyo's oldest temple, has stood here for nearly 1,400 years and welcomes over 30 million visitors each year. Locals pass through on their way to work. Visitors pause for photos, incense drifts, and life continues uninterrupted. Along Nakami Street, food stalls turn tradition into something you can taste immediately. Almost instantly, Tokyo pulls you back into its modern rhythm. In Shinjuku, scale takes over at the busiest station on Earth. This single station serves more than 3.5 million passengers every day. Step one street away, and the city fractures into countless smaller worlds. As night falls, Tokyo doesn't slow down. It switches moods. Food fits naturally into this rhythm. Quick, focused, deeply satisfying. Tokyo has more Michelin-starred restaurants than any city in the world, yet some of its best meals cost just a few dollars. By morning, the city feels refreshed, as if it quietly reset itself overnight. In Harajuku, youth culture spills onto sidewalks, turning walking into a moving fashion show. Just steps away, Meiji Shrine offers nearly 70 hectares of forested calm in the heart of the city. Moving between these places, you begin to understand Tokyo as layers stacked together. Over time, the urge to see everything fades, replaced by comfort in familiar routes. The same stations, the same cafes, the same moments. Could this be why Tokyo feels overwhelming at first, but addictive once you settle in? Tokyo doesn't ask you to slow down. It asks you to learn how to move with it. Before we move on, here's a question for everyone watching. When you think of Tokyo, which experience stays with you the most? A. Crossing Shibuya. B. Temples and shrines. C. Food culture. Or D. Daily routines. Leave your answer in the comments, and let's see who experienced the city the same way you did. Leaving Tokyo behind, you feel the transition happen faster than expected, as trains cover nearly 60 kilometers in less than an hour. Dense towers, layered noise, and constant movement slowly dissolve into open air and distant hills. You don't arrive suddenly. You ease into Kamakura, almost without noticing when your pace begins to change. Kamakura is a coastal city of just over 17,000 people, tucked between forested hills and the Pacific Ocean. Compared to Tokyo's millions, everything here feels closer, more walkable, more personal. But as you spend time here, you begin to sense a history that once reached far beyond this scale. From 1185 to 1333, Kamakura was the seat of Japan's first military government, ruled by the samurai class. Power once moved through these hills not with spectacle, but with discipline and restraint. Today, that history doesn't dominate the city. It quietly blends into daily routines. As you walk through town, streets follow the land rather than strict grids, and movement feels unforced. Nearly 1/3 of Kamakura is covered by forested hills and green space, shaping how you move through it. Temples appear often, more than 60 across the city, sometimes discovered simply by turning the wrong corner. Some people stop to pray, others to rest, many just pass through without ceremony. At the center of the city, you come face to face with the great Buddha of Kamakura. Standing nearly 13.5 meters tall, it has remained seated outdoors for more than 700 years. Rain, wind, earthquakes, and seasons have passed, yet the figure remains unmoved. You notice people sitting nearby quietly, some for minutes, others much longer, with no urgency to leave. From the temples, paths naturally lead you toward the sea. Kamakura's coastline stretches nearly 10 kilometers, shaping daily routines and seasonal rhythms. Surfboards lean beside bicycles, sandals rest by doorways, and the ocean becomes part of everyday life. Compared to Tokyo, nothing here demands urgency. Life continues steadily, shaped more by repetition than acceleration. How often do you confuse speed with progress, simply because everything moves faster? Kamakura doesn't try to impress you. It allows you to experience a version of Japan where slowing down once meant strength. And when you leave, that rhythm quietly stays with you. Less than 90 minutes after leaving Tokyo, you begin to notice the change, not because something dramatic appears, but because the pressure you didn't realize you were carrying starts to lift from your body. The buildings outside the window grow lower, the sounds thin out, and without any clear moment to point to, your breathing naturally slows to match the space around you. Looking out from the train, concrete slowly gives way to forest, and movement no longer feels compressed into urgency, but stretched into something you can finally observe. Hakone is one of Japan's most visited mountain regions, welcoming more than 20 million visitors every year, yet rarely feeling overwhelmed by them. With numbers like that, you might expect crowds and congestion, but when you arrive, do you actually feel surrounded, or do you feel absorbed by the landscape instead? Hakone sits along the historic Tokaido route, the road that once connected Edo and Kyoto, shaping how people moved across Japan for centuries. Long before trains or highways existed, travelers crossed these mountains on foot, stopping here not out of leisure, but because their bodies demanded rest. That necessity slowly turned into habit, and over time, into culture. Even today, movement still defines Hakone, but it arrives in softer forms that invite you to notice each transition. Trains turn into ropeways, ropeways into boats, and boats into walking paths, forming what is known as the Hakone Round Course. Completing this loop usually takes an entire day, not because it's long, but because every segment quietly encourages you to slow down and look around. At the center of the region lies Lake Ashi, stretching nearly 7 kilometers between forested slopes that seem to hold the water in place. As the boat glides across the lake, your eyes naturally drift toward the horizon, scanning for something you know might appear. On clear days, Mount Fuji reveals itself across the water, calm and distant, as if it has been waiting without urgency. At 3,776 meters, Japan's highest mountain feels smaller than expected, yet heavier in presence than anything around it. When you finally see it clearly, do you instinctively reach for your phone, or do you hesitate, unsure how long the moment will last? Beneath this calm surface, Hakone remains geologically alive, quietly reminding you that stillness here is never emptiness. More than 20 natural hot spring sources rise from underground, heated by volcanic activity deep below your feet. This is why Hakone became one of Japan's most famous onsen regions long before travel was considered leisure. Today, hundreds of ryokan and bathhouses operate here, many still run by the same families who learned this rhythm generations ago. Stepping into an onsen, Your body responds before your thoughts have time to follow. Heat loosens muscles, breathing deepens, and conversation naturally dissolves into the sound of water and steam. Why does rest feel so different when it's treated as part of everyday life, rather than something you earn after exhaustion? In Hakone, slowing down isn't planned, advertised, or explained. It's something the land quietly asks of you, whether you notice it or not. When you leave Hakone, you don't feel like you've stopped moving. You feel like you've learned a different way to move forward. After the openness of Hakone, the journey carries you west. And as the train moves, you begin to feel a different kind of quiet settling in. Not the quiet of nature, but the quiet of a city that has learned how to live with its past. Kyoto, Japan's ancient capital for more than 1,000 years and still one of its strongest cultural anchors. Between the years 794 and 1868, Kyoto served as the center of imperial power, shaping much of what Japan still recognizes as tradition today. Today, more than 1.4 million people live here, moving daily through streets layered with centuries of memory. Kyoto is home to over 1,600 Buddhist temples and more than 400 Shinto shrines, scattered across hills, neighborhoods, and quiet back streets. With numbers like these, you might expect the city to feel overwhelming. But does it when you walk through it slowly? In the early morning, before tour buses arrive, Kyoto feels almost suspended in time. In Arashiyama, bamboo rises vertically, filtering light and sound as you walk beneath it. Each step feels measured, not because of rules, but because the space itself asks for restraint. Nearby, temples like Tenryuji open into carefully composed gardens designed to be viewed slowly from specific angles. Why does beauty feel different when it's meant to be observed, not consumed? As the day moves on, Kyoto reveals another layer of itself. In Gion, narrow streets preserve the rhythm of traditional entertainment districts. Wooden facades, paper lanterns, and sliding doors create a cityscape that feels both lived in and carefully protected. Spotting a geiko or maiko passing quietly through the street feels less like an attraction and more like witnessing continuity. As evening approaches, food becomes the most immediate way Kyoto welcomes you. Kyoto cuisine emphasizes seasonality, balance, and restraint, values shaped by centuries of court culture. A traditional kaiseki meal unfolds slowly, course by course, asking for attention rather than speed. Eating here, do you notice how silence becomes part of the experience? Even street food carries a sense of intention, from skewered snacks to carefully folded sweets. Kyoto doesn't reject modern life, it simply asks it to move carefully. Over time, you stop trying to see everything and start paying attention to repetition. The same paths, the same temple bells, the same gestures repeated each day. Could this careful repetition be what allows Kyoto to preserve itself without freezing in time? Kyoto doesn't rush you forward. It asks you to adjust your pace until the city reveals itself to you. Leaving Kyoto behind, the journey south feels shorter than expected, and before you fully settle into the train seat, you are already arriving somewhere older. This is Nara, Japan's first permanent capital, established more than 1,300 years ago. Long before Kyoto or Tokyo shaped the country's identity, political power and spiritual authority were concentrated here. Today, Nara is home to just over 35,000 people, and yet its influence on Japanese culture far outweighs its size. Stepping out of the station, the pace immediately feels different, slower, softer, almost intentionally unhurried. Within minutes, streets open into wide green space, and history stops feeling distant. Nara Park stretches across more than 500 hectares, forming the cultural heart of the city. And here, history doesn't stand behind ropes or walls. It walks freely beside you. More than 1,200 deer roam the park, considered sacred messengers in Shinto belief. They approach without fear, bow instinctively, and seem perfectly comfortable, sharing space with people. As you stand there, holding a cracker, you can't help but smile at how naturally this interaction unfolds. Does this feel like a tourist attraction, or simply everyday life continuing as it always has? From the park, wide paths lead directly towards some of Japan's most important temples. Todaiji rises ahead, massive and unmistakable, housing the largest bronze Buddha statue in the world. The Great Buddha stands over 15 meters tall, seated quietly inside a wooden hall that feels almost impossibly large. People move slowly here, voices drop, and even children seem to sense the scale of what they're standing before. Nearby, Kasuga Taisha offers a different atmosphere, marked by hundreds of bronze lanterns lining forest paths. These lanterns have been donated by worshippers for centuries, turning light into an act of devotion. As you walk beneath them, you start to notice how the forest absorbs sound, leaving only footsteps behind. Why does silence feel heavier in places where belief has been practiced for so long? By late afternoon, hunger gently pulls you back toward the edges of the park. Local shops serve simple meals, noodles, rice, and sweets that feel unchanged by trends. Eating here doesn't feel like discovering something new, but reconnecting with something familiar. As the light softens, the deer retreat into the trees, and the park slowly exhales. Nara doesn't overwhelm you with stories. It allows history to stand beside you quietly until you're ready to notice it. Osaka doesn't ease you in. It meets you head-on with sound, movement, and appetite filling the space the moment you arrive. The city feels louder, closer, and more expressive, as if everything is slightly turned up on purpose. This is Osaka, Japan's third largest city, home to more than 2.7 million people, and long known as its commercial engine. Unlike Tokyo's precision, or Kyoto's restraint, Osaka wears its personality openly. People speak louder, gesture wider, and seem more interested in connection than presentation. Walking through the streets, you quickly notice how social the city feels, even among strangers. Osaka has been a trading hub for more than 1,400 years, shaping a culture built on exchange, negotiation, and food. That long history earned it the nickname the Kitchen of Japan, not as branding, but as daily reality. Nowhere is this more obvious than in Dotonbori, the city's most recognizable district. Neon signs stack upward, reflections ripple across the canal, and the smell of grilled food drifts through the air. Every few steps, someone is cooking, eating, or calling out, inviting you to try something. Takoyaki sizzles on hot plates, okonomiyaki flips mid-air, and food here feels less like ceremony and more like conversation. Osaka's street food culture thrives because it's meant to be eaten immediately, standing, talking, laughing. With more than 9,000 restaurants across the city, deciding what to eat becomes part of the experience. Do you follow what smells best, what looks busiest, or simply where locals are lining up? Beyond the food, Osaka carries layers of history that surface quietly between bites. Osaka Castle rises above the city, first built in the late 16th century during Japan's unification period. Surrounded by modern buildings, it feels less isolated and more woven into everyday life. In neighborhoods like Shinsekai, the city shows another side, nostalgic, slightly rough, and unapologetically local. Built with optimism, in the early 20th century, this area still carries that energy today. Walking here, you feel less like a visitor and more like someone slipping into the city's routine. Osaka doesn't aim for refinement or elegance. It wins you over through honesty, appetite, and energy. By the end of the day, details blur together, but the feeling of the city stays unmistakably clear. The city doesn't announce itself loudly. Instead, it settles in quietly as you move through it. Hiroshima today feels open, orderly, and calm, a quality that feels intentional rather than accidental. More than 1.1 million people live here now, moving through a city rebuilt almost entirely within the last 8 decades. On August 6, 1945, at 8:15 in the morning, a single moment reshaped everything that followed. The atomic bomb exploded approximately 600 meters above the city, instantly destroying most of what lay below. By the end of that year, more than 14,000 lives had been lost, numbers that are impossible to fully comprehend. Walking here today, those numbers don't confront you directly, but they are always present beneath the surface. Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park stretches across what was once the city's commercial center. Families walk, children play, and conversations unfold quietly, layered over a place once defined by devastation. The atomic bomb dome stands nearby, preserved exactly as it was left, not restored, not removed. it remains one of the few structures to survive near the hypocenter, becoming a silent witness rather than a monument. Standing here, you don't feel instructed on what to think, only invited to pause. Why does this stillness feel heavier than silence in places untouched by loss? Inside the Peace Memorial Museum, personal stories replace abstract history. Objects once ordinary, clothing, watches, letters, now carry weight far beyond themselves. Leaving the museum, the city feels different, not darker, but more aware. Hiroshima doesn't ask you to dwell in grief. It asks you to notice what continues. Trams glide through the streets, commuters move with routine, and daily life carries on. Food becomes grounding here, offering familiarity after emotional weight. Hiroshima-style okonomiyaki layers noodles, cabbage, and toppings, built carefully, one step at a time. Eating it, you notice how something so ordinary can feel restorative. As evening arrives, the city softens rather than shuts down. Hiroshima moves forward carefully, carrying memory without being defined by it. Could this balance between remembrance and life be its quiet strength? The shift feels subtle at first, as you notice the pace easing and the edges of the journey softening. Kanazawa doesn't rush to show itself. It unfolds gradually, through detail rather than scale. Located along the Sea of Japan, the city has long been shaped by both isolation and refinement. With a population of just under 470,000, Kanazawa feels intimate as you move through it on foot. Yet culturally, you quickly realize its influence reaches far beyond its size. For centuries, Kanazawa was ruled by the Maida clan, one of the most powerful families of the Edo period. Unlike many cities, it escaped major wartime destruction, allowing traditions to remain intact. Walking through Kanazawa, continuity feels less curated and more lived in. This city produces more than 99% of Japan's gold leaf. In small workshops, you watch artisans hammer gold into sheets thinner than a human hair. Watching this process, patience becomes something you can physically see. Why does craftsmanship feel more meaningful when speed is removed from the equation? Kanazawa is also home to Kenrokuen, one of Japan's 3 most celebrated gardens. Designed over centuries, the garden balances space, water, stone, and season. As you walk here, your steps naturally slow without needing to be told. Nearby, Kanazawa Castle anchors the city's historical core. Once a symbol of power, it now stands quietly among daily routines. As evening approaches, food becomes your most immediate connection to the city. Omicho Market has served Kanazawa for more than 300 years. Seafood arrives fresh from the Sea of Japan, shaping what ends up on your plate. Eating here feels grounded, direct, and deeply seasonal. As night settles, Kanazawa doesn't brighten, it softens. Streets empty earlier, conversations quiet, and time stretches slightly. Kanazawa doesn't preserve the past by freezing it. It allows tradition to breathe, adapt, and continue, with you moving through it. The train begins to climb, and without anyone saying a word, you feel the pace of the journey start to change. The city fades behind you, replaced by valleys, forests, and long stretches of quiet. Takayama sits high in the Japanese Alps, and you feel that isolation the moment you arrive. With a population of just over 85,000 people, the town feels contained, almost protected by the mountains around it. Winters here are long and heavy, shaping not just architecture, but temperament. Maybe that's why life here feels deliberate, as if rushing simply doesn't make sense. Walking into the old town of Sanmachi-suji feels less like sightseeing and more like stepping into routine. Wooden houses line the narrow streets, many unchanged since the Edo period. Shops open early, doors slide aside, and the day begins quietly. Along the river, morning markets take shape, selling vegetables, pickles, crafts, and snacks. Many vendors are farmers themselves, bringing produce straight from nearby villages. Stopping here, you don't feel like a customer, but part of a daily exchange. Takayama's identity is also deeply tied to woodworking, a craft shaped by mountain life. Local carpenters once built temples and shrines across Japan, carrying these skills far beyond the town. Watching hands work slowly, precision feels like a form of care. Why does skill feel more meaningful when speed is removed? Food in Takayama reflects the climate, hearty, warming, and deeply satisfying. Haida beef, raised in surrounding mountains, is among Japan's most prized varieties. Meals last longer here, not because service is slow, but because conversation is welcome. As the temperature drops, travelers retreat to ryokan and onsen. Hot spring water rises naturally from the mountains, carrying heat into the cold air. Sitting in the water, surrounded by steam and silence, time loosens its grip. Does slowing down feel easier when the environment asks nothing else of you? Night arrives early in the mountains, and the town settles quickly. Takayama doesn't try to hold your attention. It simply offers a rhythm that stays with you long after you leave. As the road narrows and the mountains close in, you begin to feel distance, not in kilometers, but in silence. Arriving in Shirakawa-go doesn't feel like entering a destination. It feels like stepping out of time. Tucked deep in the mountains of Gifu, the village unfolds slowly in front of you. Fewer than 1,600 people live here, and as you walk, you notice how space feels shared rather than crowded. Winters are long and heavy, with snow that can rise several meters high, shaping everything you see. To survive this climate, you find houses unlike anywhere else in Japan. Gashozukuri homes, with their steep, thatched roofs, rise in front of you like folded hands. Some of these houses are over 250 years old, and you can feel that age in every creaking floorboard. As you walk between them, the silence doesn't feel enforced, it feels natural. Smoke drifts gently from chimneys, dogs bark somewhere far away, and you instinctively lower your voice. There's no crowd pushing you forward, no signs telling you where to rush next. Instead, your attention shifts to details you would normally pass by. You notice the sound of wooden floors, the weight of sliding doors, the way light rests on straw roofs. Why does time feel slower when repetition replaces novelty? Some houses open their doors, inviting you inside not to impress, but to share routine. Meals are simple, local, and eaten quietly, and you find yourself slowing down without trying. Staying overnight, you notice how darkness arrives earlier than you expect. Lights turn on one by one, paths disappear into shadow, and you feel the village settling for the night. In the morning, mist hangs low over the fields, and you watch the village reappear slowly. Daily tasks resume quietly, without ceremony or performance. Shirakawa-go doesn't feel preserved for you as a visitor. It feels preserved because people still live their lives here. Could this be the difference you feel between history displayed and history lived? When you leave, the village doesn't follow you. It simply remains, waiting quietly for the next season and the next visitor willing to slow down. As this journey slows down for a moment, you might realize it was never about seeing everything. It was about noticing how a place moves and how you slowly begin to move with it. Japan doesn't reveal itself all at once, and maybe that's the point. It reveals itself through repetition, routine, and small moments you only notice when you slow down. From cities that never seem to stop moving, to towns that gently hold their pace. From quick meals at counters, to dinners that stretch quietly into the evening. You might not remember every place you pass through, but certain rhythms stay with you. The way trains arrive exactly when they should. The way people share space without needing to speak. The way tradition and modern life quietly exist side by side. Traveling through Japan isn't about collecting landmarks. It's about paying attention to how everyday life continues, day after day. And maybe, as you return to your own routine, you carry a little of that rhythm with you. Not to copy it, but to remember that balance is something you can choose every single day. If this journey made you want to slow down, even just a little, then it's already done its job. And if it made you curious about Japan, beyond postcards and headlines, then there's more ahead. Maybe your next journey starts with a ticket. Or maybe it starts right here, with the next story. If you've been to Japan, share the place that stayed with you the longest. And if you haven't, tell us where you'd want to go first. Your stories help shape where this journey goes next. Until then, keep moving at your own pace. See you on the next journey.